This is the Stormy Willow podcast, a lighthearted, balanced examination of the paranormal. Welcome to the Stormy Willow podcast and our brood. I am your host, Adele.
And I am your host, Sarah. Hello, Adele. Hello, brood.
Hello. And wow, there's a shit lot going on this week, huh?
And it's Wednesday. Typically Adele and I record on Fridays, so you feel like this Friday vibe from us. This is our Wednesday vibe, if you're wondering what's off.
Yeah, we'll probably actually be more structured and together.
We may actually be. It's so funny. I told Adele it's like 7:30 Eastern Standard Time where I am, and I told her, I was like, listen here, I've got my jammy jams on. I've got no makeup on, so you guys are getting like, I figure like this is a good ghost story, and I'll be ready to go to bed after this. You're getting true Sarah here, unfiltered. That's like you do every week, really. I don't know if I've ever worn makeup or looked nice on this podcast, to be honest.
Well, it usually is later in the day, so you're like winding down for your rest at 7.
I mean, just remember, this isn't our full-time job.
Yeah, I mean, I'm straight off of work, like, boom.
Yeah.
Close that laptop open this way.
I mean, and I'm also a professional athlete, so, I have to get my training in.
Yeah, we know.
I'm not a professional.
You're as professional of an athlete as you are a podcaster, I guess.
That's right. That's what a big deal I am. But, yeah, a lot of pressure on me. How's your week been so far? We're over the hump, so it's been a good journey.
Yeah, it hasn't been bad. I mean, we've been hitting over 100 here in the Southwest. I think Arizona hit like the 130s in some areas.
Is that a record?
Oh, just record-breaking heat, like every day.
It's crazy. I don't watch the news, so yeah, I don't really know what's going on.
It's pretty scary. Like the surface temperature of the oceans are off the chart.
Well, not funny, but funny story. We talk about the Dirtle, aka Myrtle Beach, a lot around here on this podcast because we spent our summers there. And so they did this big thing where it's like the water's actually blue at Myrtle Beach for like the first time. And it's like the most beautiful the beach has ever looked. And they're like, because of pollution.
Oh no.
Because it's not supposed to be that color.
I've never seen it blue.
Yeah. Like it's like, I mean, I've just seen like pictures, and it's like it doesn't look like Myrtle Beach like at all.
That's pretty.
But it wasn't because they cleaned up the water, you guys.
You're just dyeing it.
Yeah. So I thought that was interesting, and could it be that the world's on fire like they've been saying for years and years and years? I don't know.
Yeah, there's already like earthquakes. I also saw this headline caught my attention on the New York Post. It was a doomsday fish sighting. So this is a real fish, though. It's called the oarfish. But apparently, like, they're really rare because they are usually at depths between 656 to 3,200 feet below the ocean surface. And they usually signify signs of earthquakes. And this was in Taiwan that some divers were swimming with this huge fish. I mean, I can show you just like how massive this thing is. But I was like, yep, that sounds about right this time of year. Natural disaster season.
It is. Oh, look at that sucker. I don't think I've ever seen a fish like that.
Yeah, this thing is massive. I'll share pictures on Instagram. But
he's a big boy.
Yeah, so that's great. I was like, of course you're seeing a doomsday fish.
Yeah, it's scary right now. I mean, it's been really humid here. It's been really weird. Like for I think it was Monday, it was just muggy, and it's like the sky just looked like it was full of like just smoke. It was really weird. So
even I forgot to mention this like on the episode closer to the 4th of July, but we had gone out to like Embudo, that kind of place where we stayed. It's like this tiny off the map town.
Yeah.
But they have like a lot of open land, so we're like, let's just go out there and put up our tent and
you guys do that.
Just have fun and take the drone. One, it was just way too hot, and two, Like, I always thought this was a stereotype of the desert, but we literally saw a dead cow.
Oh no.
You know how you like see dead cattle, like stereotypically, and we saw a dead cow, and then further, like a few miles up, we saw a dead goat, and we were like, you know what? Let's just leave.
Yeah, that's not cool.
These poor animals are, you know, I know it's a part of nature, but I'm sure we're exacerbating that, and those are the things that are really suffering.
For sure. It's really, you know, it's a good thing that climate change isn't real and all.
I know. Imagine how much worse it would be.
I don't know why you even believe in that fable. Poor Adele.
But we still have seasons. It's not a problem till it's hot like this all the time, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've got time. Like, it's fine. I don't know why you're making up stuff, Adele.
Yeah. So.
Sorry, I didn't mean to call you out on the podcast, but you don't need to be spreading that rumor. Glad I can set you straight.
Information.
Well, speaking of setting you straight on some things, you want to hear some fun events we got happening?
Yeah, tell us something to look forward to.
I've got something for you to look forward to. I think you've actually mentioned 2 of these, but they're coming up, and I thought let's give them another mention. So let's go down to Long Beach, California, and we're heading there on July 28th through the 30th for Midsummer Scream. And it looks fantastic. So freaking awesome. It is a Halloween and horror convention. The booths there, oh my gosh. Can you imagine? I would just be like, take all my money.
Yeah. Oh.
I mean, it looks amazing.
I could see myself spending a ridiculous amount of money at a place like that.
I don't think I'd have any self-control. I mean, and it's the 28th through the 30th, so that's 3 days.
That's days. Yeah.
I mean, it looks so incredibly fun. Then we're heading down to my neck of the woods in Raleigh for the Sci-Fi, Fantasy, and Horror Fest, which is called GalaxyCon Raleigh, which sounds really, really fun. It's coming up July 27th through the 30th, and it looks like they've got a little bit of everything, like sci-fi, fantasy, horror. So it just looks like I think you mentioned this one last week, it just looks like out of a smorgasbord of fun.
Yeah.
Then, last but not least, we're heading to the land down under, going to Caldwell in Queensland, Australia, on August the 10th through the 13th. They've got UFO Fest happening. Which sounds
like a blast.
Really fun. Yeah, so you can get more information if you have your passport and are ready to travel. If you don't, apparently, I know in our state at least, they've got all these things out that you're not getting one for a very long time because they're backed up.
Wait, what? You can't get a passport?
You can get a passport, but apparently it's like taking longer than usual, and they're not accepting rushes.
Okay. I was about to say, if they're just stopping passports, it's like, one, that sounds horrifying and illegal, and 2, it sounds like they're about to pull some really shady shit there and not let anybody leave.
Well, it's like they're taking their grant. They said that they're understaffed and have too many requests coming in. I might go ahead and get mine updated. Mm-hmm. Well, so Adele, what do we have to look forward to next week? Like, how is your forecast lining up from what I gave you last time?
I mean, I think so. This one is not the Astro Twins though, so we'll see how accurate this is.
Alert, not the Astro Twins. So don't set your watch by it. It could be not right.
Yeah. Although,
but no offense to the person that.
Yeah, it sounds about right though.
We'll give her shame this person. They're like, thanks a lot, asshole.
Way to throw shade at me and you don't even know who I am yet. This is complimentary.
Like, at least I can do astrology instead of read it.
Right.
Fair.
Just like, do you know how close I got? Like,
try it.
So this comes from allure.com, Allure magazine.
Oh, wow.
For those of us who used to buy paper magazines.
That's right. I was like, do some of our listeners even realize what that was?
Like Allure
17?
is still a magazine.
17 and Teen Bop were in our house like nobody's business.
Yeah, they were all in your room for sure, though.
Did love some highlights. Still
the quizzes were always a little funny.
Yeah, the quizzes are great.
And embarrassing moments were always pretty fun, too. All right, so the forecast for this week, I would sum it up as self-care
Hey, yeah, I like that.
in a very Leo way, or even like
Well,
self.
we will be in Leo season officially, so of course.
Yes, we will. So, so July 22nd, Chiron goes retrograde, and I just thought it was funny because I rarely see a reference of Chiron, and
Yeah, I was like, what's that?
I remember Chiron from our Centaur episode.
That's right. That's right. The avatars.
Yeah, the Centaurs.
The centaurs.
Um, so
Oh,
what this kind of means, and kind of I feel like tying to Chiron's untimely death in the mythology, is this is time that old wounds might be kind of stirred up. So
ooh, okay. All
you
right.
might
That's not very Leo-esque.
not yet. That's the day before we go Leo.
Okay. I was about to say that is not a Leo vibe. I'm calling BS.
So yeah, you might you know, just have some old wounds just kind of surface during
Yeah.
that time. But hey, Leo energy is on the way, so it'll be okay. This is just kind of reinforcing that need for self-care.
Yeah. Yeah, we need it.
So Venus goes retrograde and it goes retrograde in Leo on Sunday, July
Oh, that's
23rd.
a retrograde Adele's gonna love.
Yeah, so this Venus will be in retrograde until September 3rd. Um, so this alludes to that you might need to have a difficult conversation regarding finances or your relationships.
Ooh.
And to just it's best just to go ahead and do it earlier in the month and not put it off. So if there's
Rip
like a
that Band-Aid
difficult
off.
conversation you might need to have with a significant other or about finances, go ahead and just have that earlier in the month than putting it off, or you're going to kind of it'll just be more difficult if you put it off.
Yeah. Okay.
And like the one or the other, they affect each other, you know. So if you do need to have a financial conversation, it might be putting a strain on your
Oh,
relationship.
sure.
So
Usually there's a cause and effect there.
yeah, so just go. I know we like to put things off, but just go ahead and deal with it.
Good advice.
Also, if you want to try changing up your look during this
Oh.
time, you better wait. Don't.
Oh, that is really helpful advice.
So,
Think
if
twice about that fall cut and color.
seriously, like if you're gonna try like a new style, new haircut, something new about your appearance, just wait until Venus is out of retrograde.
Good to
So
know.
don't do that until after September 3rd. So
Then
September
you're
4th,
free.
maybe
You're
try it
gonna
out. Don't do it right now.
good to know. Okay, that is some really helpful advice.
Okay, so if you're gonna do it now before the 23rd, or you need to wait until after September 3rd.
Yeah.
Um, and then lastly, Mercury goes home to Virgo on Friday, July 28th. So this might help clean up some of the mess that Venus retrograde created.
Okay. Good to
So,
know. Terrible.
yep.
Terrible at all.
And then last, and of course not least, on July 23rd, it's Leo season, so that energy comes prancing in. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
that reminder of the importance of self-care and self.
Adele, I'm sure you're gonna remind us all month long.
So
Starting now.
just be sure to take care of, you know, the one and the only you.
I love it. And you're so right because you can't take care of others until you've taken care of yourself.
Yeah, this is absolutely a month for the oxygen mask on you first. So take care
That's
of yourself.
right. That's right. Well, thank you, Adele, for that helpful advice and tips. Appreciate that.
You're
Ready.
welcome.
Adele, I have a crazy ass story for you.
Do you?
And I'm just going to tell you guys before I get into it that this really hinges a lot on true crime, which, if you listen to this podcast, you know, like I am most terrified of humans behaving badly. And so this story is all about that. I really don't do humans, and I don't really do humans that murder people and act a fool. So this is a truly terrifying story for me.
And this will probably be like our top viewed episode because it does have true crime.
Well, yeah, and y'all know that I'm not a huge fan of true crime. So but I have like 15 pages of notes. 12 pages are just all the murders that have happened at this place. So when I tell you it's crazy, do you have any idea what it could possibly be? I chose a ghost or a haunting. So any just shot in the dark.
Sounds like it has a lot of deaths.
A lot.
I'm thinking a prison.
No. It is the Cecil Hotel.
It's had that many deaths.
And it's really popular right now. I want to give a huge shout out to my friend Amy. When we were texting, or when we were recording, when we were on a break last week, she texted me and asked if I knew anything about the Cecil Hotel. And I'm like, oh, I don't. Let me look it up. And I was like, oh my God. And it's very popular right now because, and we'll get into it later, there's a Netflix documentary about the Cecil Hotel, but it's basically about the death of Elisa Lam. And we'll talk about her.
I think, yep.
Yeah.
I know exactly
and so
what you're talking about.
Cecil Hotel is back in the news again because of this documentary. And so I'm going to cite my sources first. Cecil Hotel LA Wikipedia, which is I always go to. There's they've had so many deaths. It even has like a separate like part on Wikipedia, just the deaths at the Cecil Hotel. It's pretty crazy. Travel channel, Discovery, Haunt Jaunts, and People.com. So let's get into it. Buckle up, you guys. This is not Sarah territory, but we have to talk about the deaths to get to the ghost.
Well,
all right.
That's how you make a ghost.
That's how you make a ghost.
That's where ghosts come from, kids.
That's where ghosts come from. So we're in LA at a place. I'm going to see if you can name this tune. Downtown where you're always broke. Downtown where your life's a joke. Downtown. No.
I have no idea.
Skid Row. Well, we're in Skid Row.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Anyway, but I was thinking,
why would you write? Isn't that a horrible place? Why would you write a song about it?
Because it's Little Shop of Horrors, and they lived in Skid Row, down on Skid Row.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that's where
downtown, where the cabs don't stop. Downtown, just like that place. Yeah.
Okay.
Just like Skid Row was a very dangerous port.
I got as a kid was this kid. No one knew me by name. Crashed my own house party because nobody came. It's Sum 41.
Stop. Okay. Obviously, I go musical and Adele goes another way. But yeah, so we're in Skid Row.
Musical. Well,
the musical of your life.
Yeah. There we go.
The
musical of my high school experience.
I love it. All right, so we're in a very rough part of LA. So it has become, and at one point was like an affordable housing complex for people that lived in downtown LA. Like, as you can imagine, LA is a very expensive place to live. Not a lot of affordable housing. But it opened on December 20th, 1924 as a budget hotel. And it was just absolutely beautiful. It was 14 stories, 700 rooms, just an absolute gorgeous hotel. It cost $1.5 million to complete, which was a lot of money, especially back then. It's got a marble lobby with stained glass windows. It's just very ornate, So what happens? Within 5 years of opening, the Great Depression hits. So, however, the hotel still remained kind of a fashionable destination throughout the 40s, but then it just completely plummeted whenever, people just didn't have the money to do this. It just went And so then it became like, Skid Row became populated with homelessness, transients. So like, folks that were just there for short time kind of work just to get any kind of work that they could. At that there was like a quote that it says that there was as many as 10,000 homeless people within a 4-mile radius of the hotel. So it's bad. So that's when it kind of turned into like a you can pay short-term rental type place. And so you have all people from all over kind of checking in and out of this place. It just gets kind of dingy quick. So there have been so many flipping deaths within the walls of this hotel. And so I have pages of the deaths, and we're going to just run through them somewhat quickly because I don't know that I've covered a place that has had quite this many deaths, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm sure there are places that have, but this is crazy. Like, so let's do it. November 19th, 1931, our first death is W.K. Norton, 46, suicide. He ingested poison. So he was a Manhattan Beach resident. He was found dead in his room after ingesting poison capsules. A week prior, he had checked into the Cecil under the name James Willies from Chicago. So he gave like a fake name, committed suicide. Death number 1.
I mean, are we sure it was a suicide?
They said possible suicide, but they said he supposedly ingested poison.
I just think it could be a murder.
It could be. September 1932, Benjamin Dodich, who was only 25, suicide, gunshot to the head. So a maid found Benjamin dead from a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. He did not leave a suicide note. All right.
See, that could still be a murder too.
It could. I mean, it really could.
What if there's a serial killer?
Well, we're going to get there. Don't you worry. July 26, 1934. Sergeant Lewis D. Borden, 53, suicide, slit throat. In late July, former Army Medical Corps Sergeant Broden was found dead in his room in the Cecil. He had slashed his throat with the razor. Borden left several notes, one of which cited poor health as the reason for his suicide.
Well, okay, he left a note.
I'll tell you what I wouldn't want to do is work at this hotel. I mean, there's no telling what you would come into. It's like, ooh. All right, we're still in the 30s. March 1937, Grace E. Margot, 25. She dies from falling from the building. So Margot fell from the 9th-story window. Her fall was broken by telephone wires, which were wrapped around her body. She later died at the now demolished George Street Receiving Hospital. Police were unable to determine whether Margot's death was the result of an accident or a suicide.
It sounds to me, though, with us being so close to the Great Depression, a lot of people are committing suicide.
I would be interested to know, like, what the suicide rate was then. Like, it had to have peaked.
I'm sure it skyrocketed, but especially being in the industry I am, it's almost like pre-baby boomer. It's like those generations just don't exist data-wise.
Yeah,
with the richness of data we have about every decade and every generation now.
I can't imagine, like, people are always like, I miss the good old days. I'm like, fuck no.
You're either drunk or wanting to kill yourself or both.
Yeah, I'm like, no. We talked about that, I think, with the Haunchyville episode. It's like the 50s and 60s, like, love the fashion, but that's about it, because I have to remember that when I think of the things we're still fighting today. I'm like, well, could be the 50s.
Right back to that.
Isn't it the 50s? We might be at the Depression too, so I don't know.
It's all just one big sad time.
Right. All right. May 1939. Erwin C. Neblett, age 39. Death, ingested poison. Navy officer Neblett was found dead in his room after ingesting poison.
See, that's just what seems odd to me. Is that just like a common way people committed suicide back then?
Well, yeah, and I think that
Like, where
seems
do you
like
go? You just find poison. You like rat poison?
yeah, I guess you could do rat
Yeah,
poison.
that's so painful.
Yeah, or like maybe it's just like overdose
Yeah,
on
I just
something.
wonder what they specifically mean by poison. Or
Yeah.
did they like drink themselves to death?
Well, there's that too. Well, we got another poison. January 1940. Dorothy Seeger, age 45, ingested poison. Teacher Seeger, who registered under the pseudonym Evelyn Brent, ingested poison on January 10th, 1940, while staying at the Cecil and was reported by the LA Times to be near death. Beforehand, Seeger sent her relatives a note indicating she was going to end her life. Dorothy eventually succumbed to the effects of the poisoning and died at the General Hospital on January 12th, 1940.
It's
So sad. So you can see there's a lot within these walls.
yeah.
September 1944, Dorothy Jean Purcell. This was actually her unnamed newborn son. So this was a murder, acquitted due to insanity, and the newborn was thrown out the window. And so Purcell was sharing a room at the Cecil with her boyfriend, who was a shoe salesman, Ben Levine, who was 38. Purcell, who had apparently been unaware that she was pregnant, went into labor. She later testified that she did not want to disrupt the sleeping Levine. So she didn't want to wake up her boyfriend. And so she went to the bathroom where she gave birth to a baby without waking up her boyfriend.
Okay.
And she thought the baby was dead. And so she threw him out the window and he landed on the roof of an adjacent building. She was charged with murder. 3 psychiatrists testified that she was mentally confused at the time of the incident. And in January 1945, she was found not guilty by reason of insanity. So pretty grim situation.
What the hell does the boyfriend have to say?
I was sleeping. I don't know.
Like, yeah, but seriously, like, what, like, that was seriously like his alibi? I mean, nobody can vouch for that.
No, and back then, like, I mean, I'm sure they were after her.
Yeah, like,
they're
there's
probably like, I don't know, you know how unfair things were then. And
then.
still are.
Yeah. I'm
But it's
just not buying that he had nothing to do with that.
Well, I just don't see how. Now, I've never had a baby, so I really can't speak to this. But I mean, I'm surprised that, I mean, wow, like giving birth and like not making a noise to wake somebody up. Like, whoa.
Or like, what, was it not his kid and that's what she was afraid of?
Or maybe it was his kid and she was afraid.
I mean, I can see her being afraid in both situations, but it's like, dude, if it's your fucking kid, like, wake his ass up.
Yeah.
Guess what? You're gonna be awake for the rest of your life now, bitch. Because there's a child here.
It doesn't really mention him at all, other than him sleeping, which I think is kind of fucked up.
Yeah, I'm not buying that he.
I wonder if it was his baby and they had it like he was married or something, and
he threw it out the window
or something, and she's, I just wonder what really happened.
Oh yeah, I don't. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. She was crazy.
Of course.
A hysterical woman. God. All right. November 1947. Robert Smith, 35, suicide. He fell from the building.
Okay, these are jumpers. These are not people falling.
Smith died after jumping from one of the Cecil's 7th floor windows. So, I mean, you just see like, October 22nd, 1954. Helen Grunay, 55, suicide, fell from the building. She was a San Francisco stationery firm employee. She jumped from the window of her 7th floor room and landed on top of Cecil's marquee. 1 week prior, she had registered at the hotel under the name Margaret Brown. This is just so sad.
This is so odd. They're all using, or so many of them are using pseudonyms too, though.
Right? So many are using pseudonyms.
But it's like, why, if you're just gonna kill yourself?
Yeah. I mean, this is just crazy. February 11th, 1962, Julie Frances Moore, 50, suicide, fell from the building.
What? I bet they're committing suicide for insurance money, and that's why they're using pseudonyms, because everybody.
But I didn't think you got insurance for. Oh,
that's why they're using a fake alias.
Yeah, so they could.
Because it's like the Great Depression, right? Like most of
Yeah.
these are in the 30s, that's far? Or are we even up to the 40s?
No, we're in the 50s and 60s now.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe, I don't know.
It's just uncanny. It's
I don't
crazy.
know.
So Julia jumped from the window of her 8th floor room and landed in a second-story interior light well. She did not leave a suicide note, and among her possessions was a bus ticket from St. Louis, 59 cents and change, and an Illinois bank book showing a balance of $1,800. So I don't know why. All right, now this one is really, really fucked up. All right. October 12th, 1962. We've got a double suicide. Pauline Otten and George Gianni. So Pauline is 27, George is 65. So Pauline jumps from the window of her 9th floor room after having an argument with her estranged husband, and she lands on George. She was just walking by.
Oh shit.
Yeah. It was so there were no witnesses, and police initially thought that Otten and Gianna, like, they committed suicide together, like they both jumped, is what they originally thought. But it was soon determined that George had his hands in his pockets at the time of his death, and he was still wearing shoes. Had he jumped, his shoes would have likely fallen off during the fall upon the impact, and his hands would not have been in his pockets. So, I mean, can you imagine just fucking walking on the street and that happening?
Like, oh geez.
I mean, what a way to go. Like,
somebody fell on me.
I mean, Jesus, that's horrible.
Hey, but this is a true test that a person cannot break or fall at certain heights.
All right, we got another crazy one. June 4th, 1964. Shawcase Ellinger and Pigeon Goldie Osgood, 65, murder, acquitted, stabbed, beaten, and raped. So a hotel worker discovered Osgood, a retired telephone operator, dead in her room. She had been raped, stabbed, and beaten, and her room was completely ransacked. Osgood was well known around the area and had earned her nickname because she fed birds in like the little area, and so like she's kind of like the lady from like Home Alone,
a pigeon lady,
you know, a little pigeon lady. Yeah, so everybody like knew her, and she always wore a LA Dodgers cap, so like everybody knew her, and so she always had a paper sack full of bird seeds. And so after her murder, she was seen walking through Pershing Square in blood-stained clothing. Or this fella was, this Ellinger fella.
Oh, I thought you were already getting to ghosts. I was like, her ghost.
What? And he was arrested and charged with her murder, but was later cleared of the crime. And her murder still remains unsolved.
Yikes.
Yeah. It's really awful, y'all. Like, we still have pages to go.
Oh, God.
December 20th, 1975. Allison Lowell, approximately 23, death, fell from a building. A still unidentified woman jumped from her 12th floor window onto the Cecil's second floor roof. She had registered at the hotel on December 16 under the name Allison Lowell and was staying in room 327. So we got another jumper. All right, now we're in the 90s. September 1st, 1992. It's just a body. We don't even know who this person is. It was a body of an African-American man was found in the alley behind the Cecil. Police said he had either fallen, jumped, or been pushed from the hotel's 15th floor. The 20 to 30-year-old male was never identified.
Good grief.
Isn't that terrible? All right. This is when shit hits the fan, Adele.
All right.
This is what has made this hotel come back into the limelight. And this is I remember this. I know you do too.
Yep.
So February 19th, 2003, Elisa Lamb.
It was that early in the 2000s.
It was.
Yeah.
So her actual cause of death was called an accidental drowning. But let's just run over the story. All right. So the naked body of a Lean student was found inside one of the water supply tanks on the hotel roof. She'd gone missing almost 3 weeks earlier on January 31st, 2013, and her decomposing body was discovered by a maintenance worker in one of the rooftop water tanks after guests had complained about how the water pressure and water had tasted.
Yeah.
Remember that?
Oh, I do. All I can remember is about the taste of the water.
Like, I was drinking water and eating dinner while I was rereading my notes, and I was like, I don't want any more. So if you're eating dinner or anything right now, I'm sorry.
I don't even know if Britta can like clear that.
I mean, oh God, can you imagine how, oh God, it's just, oh. So here's the funny, well, not funny thing, but here's like the weird thing that people are thinking could be paranormal. And we'll get into this more. Video surveillance footage taken from inside an elevator shortly before her disappearance showed her acting really strange, right? And so she's like pressing multiple elevator buttons, hiding in the corner of the elevator. She's waving her arms kind of erratically, and she's just kind of causing widespread speculation about how she died. People are like, is she like trying to like, hey, help me, like get help, someone's following me? Some people, and we'll get into this later, think that maybe an apparition was after her or a poltergeist or something, far-fetched. And then some people said that she did have bipolar disorder, and so they didn't know if maybe she was having, you know, an episode or something medical. And so it's kind of hard to see, and it's really weird because like after this video was released, many people basically said that a lot of maybe the medication she was on like maybe could have contributed to why she was acting that way. So there's a lot of theories out there, and I haven't watched the documentary, but I want to because it's
a good documentary.
Really weird. I remember this, but her actual cause of death was ruled an accidental drowning. Like that's what they said actually killed her.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So yeah. So it's very, I mean, I don't know, like I can't imagine. And then our last death, June 13th, 2015, the death was suspected to be a falling from the building. The body of a 28-year-old man was found outside the hotel. Some conjectured he may have committed suicide by jumping from the hotel, although a spokesperson for the county coroner informed the LA Times that the cause of death had not been determined. And the man's remains are also unidentified, which I think is just the saddest thing, you know. Now, if that wasn't enough for you, it gets a little more sinister at this hotel. You ever heard of Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker?
Yeah. I know exactly who that guy is.
He lived here as well.
Okay.
And so, he, if you're not familiar with Richard Ramirez, he was called the Terror of Coastal California. He basically did his killing sprees from April 1984 to August 1985. And in less than a year and a half, he murdered no fewer than 38 people ages 9 to 83. He killed people all the way from Orange County to San Francisco and was operating in LA. His base of operation was, you guessed it, the Cecil Hotel. And so he even disposed of evidence, including bloody clothes, in the Cecil's Hotel dumpster. Yeah,
creepy.
Pretty gross. Also, another murderer lived there. Have you ever heard of Jack Unterweger? Well, anyway.
No.
He is another creepy fella. He was an Australian serial killer. He committed his first murder in his home country in 1974 and was convicted and sentenced. And then about 10 years later, he was released. So he wrote a memoir titled Purgatory, or The Trip to Jail. And so he became a best-selling author, and he tried to convince officials that he was reformed and that, you know, this is his story, blah, blah, blah. And so he had the cops fooled, he had everybody fooled. And so what he would do is he got a job as a journalist because of, you know, this book or whatever. And he also worked as a public broadcasting host on True Crime. And he would basically talk about heinous murders of sex workers. And just like the crime that had led to his conviction in 1991, he checked into the Cecil to cover a story about a street crime in LA. While he was in the city, 3 sex workers were attacked and killed that mirrored the way he killed someone in Australia. And they were basically able to connect him to the murders. So it's pretty messed up. I mean, the most disturbing fact, though, is that they realized that he also committed many of the same murders that he covered on air.
That's just like, I don't even know. That's just so egotistical, right? Like,
right? Tonight on Unsolved Mysteries. I mean,
the police didn't report that yet.
But many suspected that Jack chose to stay at the Cecil because he was such a fan of Richard Ramirez.
Ew.
Yeah, very vomitous. Oh, and there's more. Ever heard of Elizabeth Short, the actress dubbed as the Black Dahlia?
Oh, yeah.
Last time she was seen was at the bar at the Cecil Hotel before her 1947 murder.
I think I have some ideas.
You do?
Mm-hmm. I'll save them until the end.
You want to hear what Zach Bagans has to say first? He'll be the expert on this. Now, let's talk about the ghosts. All right.
Let's talk about them.
Before we get to ZB, people who have stayed there at the Cecil, they all have reported that they've had just a really sick feeling going in there. They said that they have seen apparitions, they've heard strange noises, they've been touched, and they've also experienced like really cold spots in the hotel. And just kind of a fun fact for any American Horror Story fans, the 2015 season is based on the Cecil Hotel as well. Like, this is its thing.
Okay. Oh yeah.
So
I could totally. Yeah, I could see that.
It's so let's just cut the bullshit and get real. Let's talk about Ghost Adventures, okay? Because they were finally allowed to be one of the only crews to go in for a lockdown at the Cecil Hotel. And as you can imagine,
Zach do this.
Listen, I don't know. But
he can talk these people into being like, yeah, okay, fine. You can do it. Like,
I guess
he just won't go away.
I guess it's just a smooth operator.
Like, I don't understand. Oh, he's always like, oh, we get to be the first ones.
Well, if you haven't seen it, it's a 2-hour special of Ghost Adventures called the Cecil Hotel, and it's now available on Discovery Plus. I have not watched the whole thing. I've only watched clips, and it was good. It was good, really good. I can't wait to watch the whole thing. So I figured we would just get the expert. Okay, so when Zach walks in, he says he immediately starts feeling bad vibes as soon as you walk into the place. He said he feels bad vibes and a sense of losing mind control. Now, okay. Zach is an empath, so, Oh, hang on. Mom's here. All right, so Zach just reports that he's lost mind control. As soon as he walks in there, feels cold, all the things. So during their not one, but 2 nights investigation, the team retraced Lisa Lamb steps. So they wanted to go into the elevator where we saw the disturbing camera footage, and they wanted just to kind of relive what was happening, right? And so he says, and I quote, "When you were walking through those floors and nobody is there, even with the lights on, you could feel these spirits move through you, around you. They're watching you," he says. "There was just something about this building."
Like, what is it? On like a portal to hell?
Right. Well, he didn't say portal to hell on this one, but yeah, he said he could feel it. So The team experienced, of course, physical afflictions, including unexplained scratches, which, I mean, I feel like they get scratched on every episode. It
Dude,
was a moment.
seriously.
It was a moment of paranormal activity that had the biggest impact on Zach. He said that he was investigating alone in one of the hotel rooms where Jack Unterweger stayed. The guy, the journalist, the murder journalist. So he stayed there in 1991. And so he witnessed the bathroom water faucet turning on by itself. And he quotes in People, "I didn't know what to do," he recalls. "You had to literally twist a handle for the water to go on. That wasn't a motion activated faucet." That's one of the most terrifying moments that I had. Now, he is not the only one that has reported this. There's also some YouTubers that have stayed overnight and stuff, and they reported the exact same thing with the faucets. One guy on Reddit said that he was in a room. He's like, it was just kind of cheap and dingy, but he was like, I'm on a budget, I got to do it. And so he said he's trying to go to bed and he hears the water faucet turn on and he gets up and it turns off, and it's just so weird. And he goes to like call for help, and it's just a whole thing. So this is not the first experience with that water faucet situation. I don't know if it's the same room, but it has been reported more than once. As for how Zach faces such intense fear on a regular basis, Bagan insists it's all about perspective. You just have to tell yourself to calm down. Calm down, Adele, he says. And the moment I'm scared because of what is occurring. But I'm also being confirmed that there is more proof of an afterlife, which is the most rewarding, which we would agree. I mean, obviously we've never called as much as Zach Bagans. It's like the one experience we may have, like it does give you some glimmer of there's something out there, right? So I like that quote from ZB. Again, 2-hour special, Ghost Adventure, Cecil Hotel, Discovery Plus. I also did a lot of YouTubes where like this one guy lives across the street from the Cecil Hotel, and he said like during the pandemic, obviously it was abandoned, like no one could stay there, and he's like there just weird shit would happen all the time, like fire alarms would go on and off. He said that he would even like look, and sometimes whenever he would even say the name the Cecil or whatever, like things would fly off of his shelf just being so close. He one kid was in that area and was taking a picture, and when they developed the picture you could see like a guy's image that looked like he was jumping from a window. Ew. So definitely some creepy stuff. It's hard to find a lot of it just because people like to talk about the true crime element of the story. And so, I mean, I don't know. I mean, what are your thoughts? Would you stay there, first of all?
It sounds, and not because of the paranormal, but like it just sounds like a dangerous place to stay.
It does.
So no, I don't think I would feel safe because of the living to stay there.
Yeah. Well, and to me, when I was doing this story, it seems to me the living are definitely the most terrifying parts of the story, more so than the dead. I do believe in residual energy, so I would imagine the energy has to feel incredibly heavy, especially with all that death. It just has to be not a good feeling of a place to go. Now, they have tried to rebrand a few times, like playing around with the name. They've tried to not have this affiliation with all of this, but I don't know, maybe they can open it up as like a food court, like a haunted. They could do like team up with Haunt Jaunts or something, and like do tours and lockdowns, because it's definitely a very scary place. And it just looks like, if you look at it, like you could see like the lobby, like looks like you could tell like maybe like when they first built it, it was like, whoa, this is so posh and awesome. But you can just tell it's so run down and nasty and kind of depressing, really. Like whenever they have like people like us, the amateurs, like spending the night and doing some ghost hunting, you could just tell like the rooms just seem really depressing and just they look like jail cells. It's just real.
I don't know, like places like that with I would just be afraid of like used needles, like
Yeah.
like stuff like that before I even get to being afraid of other guests. And definitely my mind wouldn't even get as far as to the paranormal with like the
Yeah. I was
grossed
wondering.
out, unsafe feeling I would have just from being there.
Right. Exactly. It's I don't know. I don't know. Like, I mean, I guess I would go if I had a TV crew or
Or like,
something
yeah,
for
if or
safety.
just if you put security outside or at certain places to protect me from the living, I would love to investigate it. But hello,
Yeah.
like, what's the
I don't
reality
think
of
I'd
that
want to, I mean,
happening?
I don't want to actually like sleep there, but I mean, I'll stay up all night and investigate it.
Oh yeah, I
But
mean, I would
I'm
love
not
to
going
bring
to
my own
sleep. I'm not going
cot
to
and put
sleep
it in
in
the
there.
hall or
I'm
something.
not
Yeah,
going to sleep in there.
no thank. Like I already like even really nice hotels. I have a thing about hotels. Like I don't like them. I just when I
Yeah.
get into bed, I feel like I'm in the bed with 5,000 people in the bed before me. Like it doesn't matter how much you clean it. I don't
Yeah.
it I find hotels just very uncomfortable.
Yeah. Well, I think you'd be really uncomfortable here for
Oh,
sure.
definitely.
Well, what are your thoughts about it? Like, do you think it's haunted or?
I don't know. I would like to know more history about the location.
Yeah,
Like
someone
how
wanted
far
to know
back
about the property.
the dark history goes.
Yeah,
I mean, because it sounds like most of the documentation starts in like the 1930s, which it's like, well, that's kind of hard to say because it is
right,
so circumstantial of a lot of people actually committing suicide and
right.
being very
Which was a really
sad.
good point that you mentioned with like the depression. Like that is a good point. Like,
Yeah. But then once you get beyond that, it's like the chicken or the egg. It's like, is this place attracting people because of its history?
right.
Or are people with dark intentions or sadness drawn to this place
Yeah. Well, especially
because
like
of something else?
the killer or whatever, like was inspired by Richard Ramirez. And he's like, oh, I want to make this my home base, like,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
kind of odd.
maybe too, if like a lot of people, I mean, it's weird with people from other places. So you wonder, like, are they just there on business and they make their decision just to do this so their families don't have to see their bodies or something? I don't know. It's just,
And just all the aliases, it does sound like maybe people were having affairs
Mhm.
or like there was some reason they didn't want their identities known, which I think is just odd when you're going to commit suicide.
Yeah,
Because
I
I
agree.
feel like the whole
Good
point of
point.
suicide is like, yeah, I'm done. Me. Not like this anonymous. I mean, I'm sure there are some cases, but this one just seems to have a lot of people under
Yeah. I
aliases.
mean, I think most of these cases are suicide,
Yeah, which I'm
you
like,
know?
it's almost like let's just remove the 1930s, like, and say that's an outlier of a decade. It's
Yeah,
still a lot of darkness on top of that, though.
sure is. I mean, all the way up to 2015 was the last
And
incident.
that one is so odd. Like I really like I've even watched the surveillance footage
Oh,
of
then that one was 2013. Yeah,
oh
it's
yeah, like
crazy. And you just don't know. Like you can't see. Like was there someone that was after her? And Zach made a really good comment that she was like 120 pounds, like little bitty thing.
mhm.
He's like, for her to be able to get that, she probably wouldn't be able to be strong enough to get that lid off of the water tank and then move it back. He's like, it just doesn't make sense. And I'm like, I kind of agree with that. Um, it's like, was she killed and just dumped
Actually being
there?
chased by somebody. Yeah.
Yeah, because I mean, how would she do that? Take off all of her clothes and then move? Like it just, like I don't
Yeah.
know. I mean, I'm not saying that she couldn't have like some kind of like been super strong, but I mean, it just seems very unlikely.
It just sounds like this isn't a good place, whether it's
Yeah.
living or past. It
It
sounds
just,
like it's just darkness all around.
it really does. It sounds and it looks very depressing. I mean, especially being in the location it is.
Do we even know why that what's her name? The one from 2013?
Elisa Lamb.
Do we even know why she was at the hotel in the first place?
Yeah, so she was there with her friends. I think just kind of they were visiting LA and it was, a cheap place for them to stay. Like they're from Canada and I think they were in college. And let me see, I'm going back to my notes. And so it was
Okay,
just
so by
and like
that,
she was in a room with them. I saw one thing that said that, and I don't know, I don't have any sources to cite. It's just in my research. When I was going down the rabbit hole, they said that she was in a room with her friends, but then I guess like she started acting psychotic, and so she got her own room, and then that's when all this shit happened. So
it's like
there's
maybe
so
they
many
should have.
stories that just I
Yeah,
don't understand um with this. And then, it's just a weird one. It really is. And I think I mean, they ruled her death a drowning, but I don't know. I feel like she was murdered personally.
it's weird. Yeah, like even like at the very beginning, I was like, I don't know, it sounds like murder to me. That
It
some of
does
these that
because,
were labeled
and that's what I
suicides or
wonder too,
accidents.
if some of them, because with the violence, I don't know, there's a lot of like drug dealing and deals gone bad there. I wonder if a lot of it really was murder.
Or yeah, maybe the hotel's like a front for something, but they
Yeah,
actually do rent out rooms. They just don't give a shit about it.
exactly.
But it's like, I don't know, maybe a lot of the guests saw stuff that they shouldn't have, or that's why they were at the hotel historically, was to
Right.
take part in some of that shady stuff, and that's why they were under
Sometimes
aliases.
that's very true. It's like maybe the Cecil was a place where people did some dirty business.
Yeah, it sounds like it could have been a money laundering front to
I mean,
me.
who knows? I mean, I just think that many like, oh my God, like that many deaths in one place, it just seems really
I mean, it kind
strange.
of, I don't know if there's, I don't know enough about like what quality hotel, like just because you're a cheap hotel doesn't mean you're like a bad hotel,
Mm-mm.
right? Like,
Of course not.
like there are perfectly fine hotels to stay at on a budget, but it sounds to me like the Cecil is one that you would probably like pull into pull up and avoid it.
You're like,
Like I don't feel,
I don't feel safe here. Yeah.
but I don't.
Okay.
I can't figure out like at what point it became that versus a nice place.
Right. And I mean,
And
it's because it says, I mean, up until the 40s, it was still like a fashionable kind of place to stay.
okay, see, to me that just sounds like the mob, honestly,
Yeah.
or something like that when it
I
was
was
a
thinking that
nice hotel.
too.
That's
Like,
just kind of what I'm
where'd
thinking.
that money come from? The investors' money, or you know what I mean? Like, I don't
Yeah,
know.
and then you
I'd
have
like to know
like,
more.
and then yeah, maybe people were not jumping. Maybe they were being thrown out of
Yeah,
windows.
maybe.
Like, is that's odd too? Like poisons and jumpers, like so few. Like nobody's like really hanged theirself.
Right. I mean, there was a slit of the
To
throat.
slash your own throat, that's.
But it's mostly poisons and jumping.
But even slashing your own throat, like who does that?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. And there was the gunshot wound.
And
So
wasn't there a cop that was a victim or a guest
yeah.
in the
And
story?
there was somebody in the Navy.
I don't
I don't
know.
know, guys. This
Sounds
could be
dirty
like
to
a
me.
clue. And I don't really to be fair, I don't really get sketched out about places that much, but it just seems like this place would be somewhere else. It's like, I'm sorry. No, no, no.
I don't. It just seems like that kind of place where, like, you might even encounter places like this out walking or in the woods, and it's just like everything in your fiber of being just says, "Don't go that way.
Yeah, that
You need to
gut.
turn around."
You need to listen to the gut. Um, so I saw one thing that said the Cecil Hotel where dreams go to die.
I think okay, yeah.
Fair, fair, where people go to die.
It sounds like everything goes to die at the Cecil.
It's very just ugh. But I hope you like that haunting. I mean,
And I do like true crime.
well, there you go. I'm glad I could give
So
you some of that.
yeah, I that one's a head scratcher. Like I said, I just kind of like the chicken or the egg. Either way, it's just a really all around dark place now.
It's such a dark place now. I mean, just the energy there has to be it's really overwhelming. Just ugh. And I wonder about the land too. Like, was there any curse on the land, or
Was this
what
place
was it
happy
built
like
on?
ever?
Yeah, like what was it before it was the Cecil? So I'd like to do some more deep digs into that
Yeah.
because it's definitely not a real happy place. Well, Adele, what you got? Are you ready to spin the wheel?
Well, we can see. I mean, let's see if I can possibly top the
Or
Cecil.
were you wanting to do a ghost story too? You mentioned that last week.
I like leaving it up to fate. Let's see what the wheel has in store.
The wheel.
What's it gonna be? No,
You just
I'm
did
spinning
one.
that again.
You can spin it again. I'll allow it.
Okay. All right.
Oh, isn't that funny? And you were just talking about the Greek.
Oh yeah,
and
the
you
centaurs.
got a demon goddess or an entity.
Yep.
Very interesting, Adele. I can't wait to see what you come up with.
I can't wait either. That's probably like there's like two categories that I don't have a robust amount of topics, and that's one of them. So
Yeah. Well, you can spin again if you decide to, or do a close story.
yeah, if push comes to shove, do whatever I feel like.
Whatever you want to. It's our podcast.
Yeah, exactly. No rules.
Well, I hope you enjoyed the story about the Cecil. If you head over to Discovery Plus and watch the Ghost Adventure special, let me know what you think. I definitely want to watch that one.
Yeah, I might check that out, or I might watch the documentary on the true crime side of it again.
Yeah.
It was really good.
Yes, so got some shows for you. So as we say here on our lovely podcast, be safe out there, friends.
That's for damn sure. Stay curious.
And never trust the living. And maybe think twice about checking in at the Cecil Hotel.
Yeah.
Just gonna throw that out there for you.
Just sleep in your car at that point.
Yeah, at that point, yeah. But not on Skid Row.
Yeah, just avoid that area.
Yeah, don't do it. Don't do it. All right, guys. Yeah. Take care.
Bye.